All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I'm using a different device today, so I just want to make sure I can see the chat. Okay. All right. Very good. So I'm just going to put this. Very good. All right. All right. So hope everyone's doing well today. For those of us who joined us, for those of you who joined us for the recitation earlier, I only did about half a juz today. Read Surah Al-Anbiya, and we'll begin from Surah Al-Hajj tomorrow. Inshallah, we'll make it up. I had to leave a little earlier, so I had to stop the recitation of Anbiya. But nevertheless, alhamdulillah, we are moving along Ramadan, mashallah. We are now at hadith number 18, which means tomorrow will be the 18th day of fasting, mashallah. So almost 2/3 of the month gone. Wow, it is going by really fast. So let's jump right into it, inshallah. Hadith number 18. قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. There's a saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. من غشنا فليس منا. Whoever deceives us is not one of us, or is not from us. That's another way to translate it. Rawahu Muslim. Deception. This is a big problem in the world today, and unfortunately also within our Muslim community. People love to deceive for various reasons. Sometimes it's just to look better, to look like a big shot in a gathering. Sometimes it is to cheat someone in business to make a profit. Sometimes it can even be to get someone married. People deceive and they lie about their traits and their features and so forth. It's a big, big problem. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that whoever deceives us is not one of us. So this is a big, big deal. What do the scholars say about this? Does this mean that the person is not Muslim? No, but rather there's something wrong with them. Someone who is constantly deceiving others, and they may very well be Muslim, but there is something wrong with their faith. There is really something wrong. And what's dangerous is that these types of acts of deception eventually can take a toll on one, where they could be deceiving you about their faith. So it's not good. It's not healthy to have deception in our life where we deceive others. It doesn't put us out of the pale of Islam if you happen to do it. It is a bad sin, very bad sin, especially depending on the situation. It can vary. Some levels of deception are severe, some, maybe minor, but it should not be done. It is not from the qualities of a believer that we deceive others. So I'm going to just go over some ways that people today deceive others, unfortunately, just to remind everyone what deception really counts as. So first and foremost, one of the easiest ways to deceive people is in the sale, the transaction of fruits. So what some fruit sellers do sometimes is that they will put leaves or papers in the bottom of the basket of fruits, and they'll put the best fruits on top. And then this way, and then of course the bad fruits are on the bottom. This way, people will think that the whole basket is, full of good fruits, and they'll buy the whole basket only to come home and open it and see it was only the top. They judge the book by its cover, essentially, but inside of it was rotten or bad fruit. Another way um, people cheat people. Um, a lot of examples here that are given by the scholar I'm using, they may apply overseas, so I don't want to give all of them. Um, but right here, here's another one. This happens in gold. So some goldsmiths, they mix gold and copper and the like, and other, minerals and materials and so forth. And then they sell it off as if it's pure gold. This is really a big way to deceive people. You can melt, gold. You can melt um, these other products, and then you can mix them, and then claim that they are pure 100% gold when they are really not. And then you sell it on the weight of gold, of pure gold, rather than the mixed substance that it really is. Um, and then, of course, you make top profit, but the person who purchased it, they didn't get really full value of what they paid for. Another thing people do here, and I've seen this, or at least I've heard it, um, in car auctions, where people have told me what they'll do in these car auctions, where there's like thousands of cars being sold. So they'll put thick oil in it or some type of product in the engine where it can drive off for at least 50 miles. Usually in the auction, if uh, if a car goes past 50 miles and nothing goes wrong, then it's yours to keep. Meaning something has to go wrong for the first 50 miles in the engine for you to return it and get your money back. So what they'll do is they'll put enough substances in the engine so that the car could run 50 miles, and after that, engine's gone. This is a bad way to deceive people. Another one, and I personally know someone that has done this, and I've been very upset that they did it. It was one of my colleagues actually at work. Um, so he had a car, he had an SUV, and it had like, I want to say like 240,000 miles on it. But he found someone that could turn back the odometer. So he found that person, he paid him about, a few $100, and they turned his odometer to show that he only had 140,000 miles. And then, of course, the value of his car went up. He sold it, and this poor customer that, you know, um, purchased the car was under the false impression that this car only had 140 and paid the value of it as if it had 140, but in reality it had 240. So that's major deception right there. You could make more money, but you are displeasing your creator. Another way people um, deceive people, selling any product, what they do is they conceal the faults of it. They'll conceal the faults of it. It's even mentioned in some stores. What they'll do is they'll dim the lights in a certain way so that you cannot tell if the product is messed up until you leave the store, and then there's no returns once you walk out. Or they'll conceal it in a way that it's very hard for you to see. And they'll sell it to you as if it's brand new and never been refurbished, when the reality is it has been refurbished. So this is a type of cheating um, that is not acceptable. Um, and then I mentioned in marriage, this is really bad, is that when you portray yourself as someone that you are not. So this happens quite often. People may say they are so and so, and the reality is they are not. And they are nothing close to what they say they were. And I'm not talking about, oh, I'm a nice person, or, I like to take walks outside and stuff. Yeah, and I'm not talking about those minds. And that's bad to lie about too, but I'm talking about people lie about health issues sometimes. They say they are fully 100% healthy, and it comes when you end up into their family, they disclose all types of things. Surgeries lined up. They can't go to bed without taking 10 meds. They can't do certain activities because of their, health condition, or they have such a severe health condition that it could put you at risk for being with the person. This happens a lot. In fact, in Saudi Arabia, now it has become like a regular practice. They have a high rate of hepatitis C out there, especially in Egypt too. So what they do now, before marriages, is that both prospective, you know, people within that potential marriage, they have to take a blood test. So they'll take a blood test to make sure they don't have Hep C or other diseases. It was said in an article I read, this was some time ago, that 40% of marriages were called off because of that. Because people actually found out that they had issues that would lead to some major problems. And there's nothing wrong with doing those blood tests. It's actually a way of, I guess, preserving honesty and truth in that transaction of marriage. Some other people, what they do is they lie about the jobs they have. I was just informed recently. I guess there's this new Muslim marriage app, or hookup app, kind of named after an American app called Minder. So, and those of you know what I'm talking about, know what I'm talking about. But so what happened was, someone I know, he tells me, "Hey, Sahib, I know all these folks on this app, and they're lying about their age and the jobs that they have. So these guys are like 18, maybe all the way to 21, putting their age as 25 and maybe older, slightly older, and then putting fake jobs, trying to get connections. This is a classic example of deception. What are you trying to do? What will you do when you end up with that person and they realize, you don't work for Google, but you work, for Vaughn's or Stater Brothers? Not that there's anything wrong with working at, a small time job, but why do you have to lie and present yourself as someone that you are not? Just be true about who you are. And inshallah, if you are true, the right person will come along that will appreciate you for who you are. You should also be prepared for marriage too, right? That doesn't mean, you're barely, getting by, and, you're struggling in life, and you decide to get married. You should make sure that you are also set in the sense where you can take care of someone, along with yourself. I don't want to by any means downplay the barakah of marriage. There is barakah in marriage, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually told us in the Quran that get those amongst you who are young married early, and Allah will provide for them, no doubt. Allah puts barakah in marriages. He will provide. But that doesn't mean we abuse that. And you are absolutely in a state of uh, desperation, and you have things really upside down. Don't put someone in trouble knowingly. Okay, please be upfront about your situation. And this is what I got going on, and if you're cool with that, then okay, let's move forward. But you can't lie about your situation. And people sometimes lie about how much real estate they have, properties, right? And many times Muslims, just knowing each other, sometimes we don't question it. I believe them, or you'll ask somebody that trusts them, and they'll believe them. And then when they get married, it turns out they had monopoly properties. Nothing was going on. Not that you should marry someone for properties either. Don't get me wrong, but the point here again is to be truthful. Don't show yourself as someone that you are not. There's even other severe cases where they're not necessarily lying, but they are leaving out really important information. So there's been cases where people get married and husband and wife go out on their first dinner, and the husband orders a beer at dinner. This is their first dinner together. And the wife's like, "What are you doing?" And the guy goes, "What's the big deal? It's just a beer." you know, it's probably somewhat important that you let the other person know that you drink alcohol, because that's not the norm in the Muslim culture. So, you got to be upfront about things. Other people, I know there's cases where they get married and then the person doesn't fast all of Ramadan, say, oh, it's too hard for me. Things like this, you might want to tell your spouse, because it could be a big deal for them. And then you don't want to end up in divorce right after just because you wanted to get together with this person, being hasty. Remember haste? We talked about this earlier in the hadith. Haste is from a shaitan. The hadith was al-anatu min Allah wal-ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Calmness is from Allah and haste is from shaitan. This idea of deception also, the roots of it are from haste, because you want to get something that you weren't quite ready to get, or you didn't deserve. But what did you do? You changed the image of yourself or the situation so that you could get it. So there's an aspect of haste there too, and then of course the deception. So this is terrible. We should not do this. I wanted to share some stories from the Salihin. What type of measures they took to not be deceptive. I mean, they are beyond our level, but they serve as a form of motivation. I'm going to read some to you right here. I'm just going to move my screen. I hope you could still see me. If you can't, Omar, let me know. I hope you could still see me. Okay. So here is a story from Imam Abu Hanifa. So, can't see you. Okay. Sorry about that. So it turns out you could not see me when I moved my screen away. That's fine. I'll get it on another screen here. 1 second. Let me pull something up. I got it right here. Alhamdulillah. And just gotta put in some information to get to the screen. I apologize. But it's really a travesty nowadays, the amount of deception that takes place just amongst our Muslim community. We know in general there's a lot of deception. In fact, while I'm loading this, I want to share a story with you. True story from my work. This is from like last week or about a week and a half ago. So as you know, masks are selling right now in large quantities. Instead of flowers on the street, you see people selling masks. Masks are being sold everywhere. So there was this lady who got some masks from Los Angeles. They made some for her. These are just cloth masks. They're not medical grade by any level, and or any degree. But she wanted to sell them. So she was getting them made for about $2.50 each. So she goes up to a friend here locally and says, hey, I'm selling these masks for $7. If you can help me sell them, I'll give you $1 for each mask. So this person, being nice and also thinking of an opportunity for herself, she says, my husband works at so-and-so place. I don't want to say where that place is because it's pretty embarrassing. So she says, my husband works for a certain place and they really need masks. So why don't you go and introduce yourself? My husband will tell the right people in the business that I know someone selling masks. So come on in and present what you have, and hopefully we can strike a deal, right? But remember, in her mind, she's thinking $1 per each mask. So the lady goes in, she shows the mask. That place was desperate, and they bought $13,000 worth of masks. And not only that, gave her a possible extension for another $20,000 worth of masks. So roughly, it came out to, I believe, let me see, it was about 1,800 masks, 1,857 masks to be exact. So that was a pretty good sale. So now this person that made the referral, she was expecting remember, $1 for each mask, right? 1,800 and some change. So she was like, yes, I'm gonna get a little nice bonus here. So she said, thank you, I got this contract. She comes back, thanks her for it and says, hey, meet me so I could, pay your commission. So they meet up and she gives her $250. And this lady says, what is this? You said $1 for each mask. I said, yes, $1 for every mask that you physically sell. This was just a referral you gave me. So I wanted to just reward you for the referral, but you didn't sell each of these masks. And then, my colleague at work told the friend who's also the neighbor, she said, just give her the 250 back. Don't even keep it. And I wouldn't be friends with that person anymore. So sad, but this is the way people deceive others. So here are some stories from the Salihin. These stories of encouragement, inshallah. So Imam Abu Hanifa. By the way, Imam Abu Hanifa, he was not only one of the founder of the major schools of fiqh, but he was known to be very wealthy. In fact, one of the most wealthy and honest merchants in the marketplace. And he maintained his business even after he became a scholar. And it was known that he would actually buy his students clothes. And he did that so that they would look dignified. But he was known to be a very, very honest merchant. And people would buy from him because of his honesty. And dishonest people actually ended up going out of business because of Imam Abu Hanifa. So there's a lot of stories regarding him, subhanAllah. But I'll mention one here. So Imam Abu Hanifa one day, he stayed in his business one day, and he got a partner. The partner's name was Hafs ibn Abdul Rahman. So once he had a cloth, some type of clothing with a defect in it. So he told Hafs, make sure you show this defect when you sell the item. Disclose it to the customer. So anyway, Hafs went on with the transaction, and he came back, and he comes to Imam Abu Hanifa, and he asked, did you sell the item? Yes. Did you disclose to the customer that there was a defect in the item? He said, no, I forgot. So Imam Abu Hanifa asked, how much did you sell it for? So he said, about 500 dirhams. So Imam Abu Hanifa then gave the whole day's profits from his business in sadaqah, and he broke the partnership immediately with Hafs ibn Abdul Rahman. And then not only that, he told his son to go find that customer so that they could inform them about that defect. One more story from Imam Abu Hanifa. So one day, a woman came to him trying to sell him something. He said, how much? She said, 100. And he said, no. So she was surprised. So she said, 200? 300? 400? And then he kept saying no until it got to a point where she finally asked, what is this worth? In fact, he actually called another person and said, what is this worth right here? And he said, 500. After that, then Imam Abu Hanifa bought the item for that price, for 500, even though initially he could have just bought it for 100. And, maybe there may not have been even anything wrong with that per se. But out of his taqwa, this was his level of taqwa. He felt that it was cheating this person, so he wanted to give her full value for the item that he was buying from her. This is just the level that they were at. Nowadays, subhanAllah, imagine this was something technically worth 500, which he was getting for 100. So imagine being offered the chance to get something 5 times cheaper than the price. Not 5%, 5 times cheaper, meaning if something was worth $1,000, you're getting it for $200. That is a significant opportunity. In fact, one of us would jump on it right away without hesitation. And technically it wouldn't be wrong because, you have to make money. Meaning if you get an opportunity to buy something under value and to resell it, technically there's nothing wrong with that. But, remember, he's a scholar. He was already a successful businessman, and he saw this woman coming in. So he didn't want to take advantage of her. So, he was considering also possibly his situation as well as an imam, someone who's known in the whole city. I'm not going to rip this lady off. What is she going to think? Imam Abu Hanifa bought something from me, 5 times less than the value. She didn't know it at the moment. What if she found out later? So he was very honest. So you have to consider those things sometimes too, the position that you're in or the person. It could have been that this woman was very desperate. We don't know all the details. She could have been, very desperate. And so this was a way of him even helping her out. So this is what the people from the righteous do. They look at the bigger picture a lot of times. And look, did he suffer at all in his life financially? No. One of the most wealthiest people from his time, from the businessmen in his city. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not withhold. And remember, we mentioned that yesterday. Whoever keeps the akhirah their main concern, the dunya will come to you without even you sometimes even asking for it. Allah will just bless you in ways that you can't imagine. So, the point is not to deceive. Don't deceive. At least, at minimum, please everyone, when it comes to you engaging in a transaction, you should not portray something that it is not, whether it's your own family member, whether it's your business item, whether even if it's a conversation. I'll see people boasting in conversations, saying things that they don't even have or have not even accomplished, but they'll say it just to look high in the gathering, look formidable and full of honor. I'll end with this. It was just a funny story. I was sitting at a dinner one day, and everyone is going around talking about who they are. They were just doing introductions. Who are you? What do you do? So I kid you not, the first person started, hi, I am Dr. So-and-so. I work at this institution. I am Dr. This. I am Dr. That. Next person, I am a PhD engineer. I work for this institution. And then one guy comes up and, he didn't have the doctor title, but he owned a hotel. So he says, oh, I own a hotel, but, I'm a pretty rich guy. Did he have to say that? No. But anyway, they were going around, and I remember I was in that gathering, and I was literally I would be at the end of the circle. So I was towards the end, and my brother-in-law was next to me. So we're looking at each other like, hey man, we're in trouble here. I'm not a doctor, you're not a doctor. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a regular healthcare provider. But anyway, and my brother-in-law was, he works in a company and he works in the finance department. So a friend of ours, I won't say what relation this person had to us, but it was his turn, and then he introduced himself, and now it was going to be myself and my brother-in-law, but first my brother-in-law. So they look at him to introduce us. So he points towards my brother-in-law and says, oh, he is a CFO of his company, the chief financial officer. And I'm laughing like, well, until today we call him CFO, because he's not the CFO, but he was introduced that day as a CFO. And then he looks at me and he says, this is Sahib, he leads Tarawih prayer in the masjid. Yeah. Great way to introduce someone. But anyway, it was pretty funny. But it's amazing how sometimes people have to, change their image just to fit into a gathering sometimes, right? Uh, Amazing. Man ghashana falaysa minna. That's the hadith of today. Always remember, whoever deceives us is not from us. Is not one of us. Rawahu Muslim. So let's do a quick rundown, inshallah, of the first 17 hadith. Hadith number 1, ad-deenun nasiha. The religion is sincerity, recorded by Imam Muslim. Hadith number 2, ad-du'a mukhul ibadah. Supplication is the essence of worship. Rawahu Tirmidhi. Hadith number 3, al-mar'u ma'a man ahabba. A person will be with whom he loves. Rawahu Bukhari wa Muslim. Or muttafaqun alayh. Hadith number 4, hubbuka shay'a yu'mi wa yusim. Your love for something can render you blind and deaf. Rawahu Abu Dawood. Hadith number 5, al-anatu min Allah wal ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Calmness is from Allah and haste is from shaytan. Rawahu Tirmidhi. Hadith number 6, al-haya'u la ya'ti illa bi khayr. Modesty does not bring anything but goodness. Rawahu Bukhari. Hadith number 7, al-tuhuru shatrul iman. Purity is half of faith. Rawahu Muslim. Hadith number 8, al-khamru jumma'ul ithm. Rawahu Razin. Alcohol constitutes many sins. Hadith number 9, inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and he loves beauty. Rawahu Muslim. Hadith number 10, la darara wa la dirar. Do not cause harm or return harm. Rawahu Ibn Majah. Hadith number 11, man samata naja. Whoever is silent has been saved. Rawahu Tirmidhi. Hadith number 12, la taghdab. Do not be angry. Rawahu Bukhari. Hadith number 13, anzilu an-nas manazilahum. Treat people according to their status. Rawahu Abu Dawood. Hadith number 14, man lam yashkur an-nas lam yashkur Allah. He who does not thank people does not thank Allah. Rawahu Tirmidhi. Hadith number 15, inna adh-dhulma dhulumatun yawm al-qiyamah. Verily oppression will be darkness on the day of judgment. Rawahu Bukhari. Hadith number 16, yassiru wa la tu'assiru wasakinu wa la tunaffiru. Make things easy for people, do not make them difficult. Do things with ease, with calmness, and do not repulse people. Rawahu Bukhari. And then hadith number 17, lu'ina abdu dinar wa lu'ina abdu dirham. Accursed is the slave of the dinar and the slave of the dirham, meaning the slave of money. Rawahu Tirmidhi. And then today's hadith, man ghashana falaysa minna. Whoever deceives us is not from us. Rawahu Muslim. And as we always end, we're going to end with, inshallah, a new dua. And let me pull it here, inshallah, so I can try and send it to you right away. All right, here we go. So this is a beautiful dua recorded by Imam At-Tirmidhi. And the Prophet ﷺ would supplicate with this prayer. So I will, inshallah, try to recite it in the plural form right now for you, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallahil azim. ربنا أعنا ولا تعن علينا وانصرنا ولا تنصر علينا وامكر لنا ولا تمكر علينا واهدنا ويسر الهدى لنا وانصرنا على من بغى علينا ربنا جعلنا لك شكارين لك ذكارين لك رهابين لك مطواعين لك ربنا جعلنا لك رهابين لك مخبتين إليك أواهين منيبين ربنا تقبل توبتنا واغسل حوبتنا وأجب دعوتنا وثبت حجتنا وسدد ألسنتنا واهد قلوبنا واسلل سخيمة صدورنا واسلل سخيمة صدورنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. وصل اللهم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين. All right, so here is the hadith or the dua. The translation: Allahumma a'in alayna wa la tu'in alayna. Oh Allah, help us and do not help against me, meaning don't help others against me. Oh Allah, support me and do not support against me. وَامْكُرْ لَنَا وَلَا تَمْكُرْ عَلَيْنَا. Plan for us, but do not plan against us, or plot, you can say. Oh Allah, guide us and make guidance easy for us. Support us against who transgress us. Oh Allah, make us grateful to you, mindful of you, fearful of you, obedient to you, humble towards you, turning to you and repenting to you. Oh Allah, taqabbal tawbatana, accept our repentance. Waghsil hawbatana, wash away our sins. Wa ajib da'watana, and answer our supplication. Wa thabbit hujjatana, and establish my proof. Wa saddid alsinatana, and direct my tongue, meaning guide my tongue to say things that are pleasing to you, and saying the truth and avoiding saying bad things. Wahdi qulubana, and then guide our hearts. And then waslul sakhimata qulubina, and then remove hatred from my chest. Beautiful dua in a sahih supplication by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you'll hear this a lot, during Ramadan from the imams, especially during witr. So I'll send you this inshallah right now on the WhatsApp group, and try to learn it. I know it's kind of long, so at least if you have it in front of you, you can read it while just looking at a paper or so forth, inshallah. With that, we'll conclude for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow evening for the recitation of the Quran, and then at 9 p.m. for hadith number 19. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.